2023 was a surprisingly great year for film considering all the delays that we had with the strikes going on. Here is everything that I watched in 2023 ranked. Today we are going through all 118 films or pieces of content that I watched in the year 2023. Now I don't want to shit on the films that I didn't like. There are a lot of films on this list that I will never watch again, so I don't want to necessarily dive deep into every film because with 118 things, if I were to talk about all of those for, let's say, 30 to 40 seconds each, it would make this video an hour long or more. So with that being said, let's just get right into it. Starting off, we'll separate this into categories. The first category is going to be short films. In 2023, I watched 5 films, 4 of which were created by Wes Anderson, and all of them were really good. Again, I'm separating this just because it's hard to compare short films with feature-length films. So with that being said, let's get right into it. In technically last place, just the one that didn't resonate with me, or the one that resonated with me the least, was The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. After that, we got The Ratcatcher, then Poison, and then my favorite of the 4 short films that Wes Anderson released this year on Netflix is The Swan. And my 5th and final short film that I watched was Death and Ramen, starring Bobby Lee and Matt Jones. This short film, is really fantastic. It's on YouTube. The story of how the short film came to be is really interesting, so please go check that out. Moving on from the short films to the documentary portion, I watched 2 documentaries and 1 comedy special, so I just thought I would include that comedy special here. That was Tom Segura's Sledgehammer. It was really funny. I like Tom Segura. Good enough comedy special. The 2 documentaries I watched, the Tom Sawyer, Jeremy Renner, Diane Sawyer interview about his snowplow accident. Very, very intense stuff. Obviously very glad that he's okay. Just a very crazy, wild story, and don't mess around with big, heavy machinery. And then the other documentary that I watched was David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. This is the documentary about the stunt double for Daniel Radcliffe on the Harry Potter franchise and how he became paralyzed on the final film, which is horrible. It's a horrific story, but it's just about how he's moved on and really just seeing his persistence to keep on living and to keep happy when you have to struggle with something as literally, like, physically, it's crippling emotionally and literally physically to his life. So now moving on from the short films and the documentaries, we're getting into the main chunk of this list. We have 110 feature-length films that I watched in 2023. I will say right now, a good chunk, these last 50 films of 110, so spot 60 to 110, I won't watch again. I won't try it again. They're just not for me. So I'm not really going to go too in-depth about it, except for the 2 films in very, very last place, which are the worst definitions of Hollywood cash grabs. In very last place, we have The Exorcist Believer. This movie, again, I've already said it, it's a Hollywood cash grab. There was no need for this film to even be created. We don't need an Exorcist trilogy. We don't want an Exorcist trilogy. I like the original, but I don't care about this. Moving on, we've got Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey in 109th. The only reason this is above Exorcist Believer is because this is a low-budget horror film, whereas Exorcist Believer had no right to be as bad as it is. Whereas Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, it was made on a shoestring budget. It's dumb, and it knows it's dumb, whereas The Exorcist was actually trying. My only issue with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is how the creators just can't take criticisms, and specifically they're shutting out specific movie reviewers, and just they're really being whiny. And again, people have opinions. They're supposed to share their opinions on movies. That's why we like movies, because people like movies for different reasons, and people don't like movies for different reasons. But Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, their creators seem to be offended by everything, and on top of that, the movie didn't dig deep into Winnie the Pooh at all, so it didn't feel like a Winnie the Pooh film. It just felt like a really bad slasher with knockoff Winnie the Pooh characters just to get people into the seats, which I paid $15 for this movie ticket. This is one movie ticket that I wish I would have not purchased. Alright, and we'll just keep on going through these now because those are the 2 films at the very bottom that I felt like I needed to talk about. 108th, we've got Strays, then White Men Can't Jump, Fast X, Bad Things, Expendables 4, Meg 2 The Trench, The Flash, Indiana Jones, and The Dial of Destiny. I will talk about this one for a little bit because I was very, very let down. I love the original trilogy, Temple of Doom is my favorite Indiana Jones film of all time. I still even enjoy Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's not great, but it's fun. It's fun enough. My issue with Dial of Destiny is it's too long. The ending, I don't want to spoil it for those that maybe still haven't seen it, but that ending is just, they went too far, and everybody said that with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so how could you go too far with this one? But I don't feel like anything really worked about this movie. The side characters didn't work. The new type of short round sidekick character didn't work for me at all. So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, a very, very disappointing film, and I don't own any of the Indiana Jones films, but when I do go to purchase those, I will only purchase the first 4. Alright, now breaking into our top 100, we've got Shotgun Wedding, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, The Strays, Happiness for Beginners, Robots, The Offering, Spoonful of Sugar, Kids vs. Aliens, Suitable Flesh, Dix the Musical, Inside, Insidious: The Red Door, Malum, The Sacrifice Game, Run Rabbit Run, Anyone But You, Joyride, Champions, The Outlaws, Missing. Breaking into our top 80, we've got Saltburn, which maybe you're surprised that this is very, very low on this list because it was a huge hit this year. I was very excited for it. I like Emerald Fennell. I like the cast, so it should have been right up my alley, but just it didn't click with me. The bathtub scene I felt was disgusting and pointless. It's one of those types of sexual scenes that, if you know me, I don't think they're very useful, but that was one scene where it was made to make this character seem obsessive and crazy, and it did, but in just the worst, most uninteresting way possible. After that, we got Haunted Mansion, Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain, The Marvels, They Clone Tyrone, VHS 85, The Machine, Operation Fortune, Dungeons and Dragons, Mafia Mama, Silent Night, Leave the World Behind, Ferrari, It's a Wonderful Life, Black Demon, The Wrath of Becky, Megan, which might be another surprise for you that, this was a huge hit in 2023. It was a very big hit, and now Megan is without a doubt a new horror icon. I don't think it's, it's going to take a couple more films for people to really, really stick with her, but I think it's already kind of happening just because the viral meme dance that went around. So Megan, if it were rated R from the beginning, I probably would have enjoyed it more. That being said, the unrated cut did not add enough to this film. So it was originally supposed to be rated R, then it got pushed to PG-13 because of the viral marketing. Once they released that rated R cut, it didn't feel like it was really that much of an R-rated film, if you get what I mean. It needed to be a bit more brutal for how dumb the film is. No Hard Feelings, Totally Killer, Cocaine Bear. Breaking into top 60, we got The Blackening, Renfield, Skinamarink, a very, very interesting film, one that I will probably never watch again, but I will not forget this film for a very long time. Influencer, Five Nights at Freddy's, which I probably would have loved if I were in high school, The Equalizer 3, Quiz Lady, The Boogeyman, Maestro, Dream Scenario, and coming in 50th place this year is May December, which is also a very low placement for this film, I feel like, for common rankings of 2023 films, because everybody seemed to like this film. I enjoyed the performances, but it's just a story that's so creepy and gross that I didn't find myself enjoying it, but Charles Melton's performance specifically is fantastic. After that, we got Hunt Her, Kill Her, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Knock at the Cabin, Infinity Pool, Saw X, The Killer, The Passenger, The Covenant, Evil Dead Rise. Breaking in top 40, we got Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, The Super Mario Bros. Movie, Blackberry, Gran Turismo, Wesera, The Bone Woman, great film, Bottoms, really, really funny comedy, Birth, Rebirth, a film that I could not watch, would not watch if I were a woman, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, followed by Sick, Blue Beetle, and breaking into our top 30, we've got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Another low placement for this film. I feel like a lot of people had this in their top 10, top 20, and that just goes to prove how much I enjoyed the other films higher up on this list, because there were some really, really surprising films. I did not expect to end 2023 with as much love and enjoyment and excitement for some of these films that made it up this high. We got Cobweb, Black Mirror Demon 79. I did watch all of season 6 of Black Mirror, which every single episode was about an hour long, which I count that as a film. If it's over 60 minutes, I'm counting it as a feature, but I didn't want to include the entire series or season just because I also watched a lot of TV this year, and I didn't want to include those here, but I wanted to include my favorite of Black Mirror season 6 on this list, and Demon 79, I will go back and watch. If they release Black Mirror Season 6 on Blu-ray, I will purchase it just for Demon 79. Poor Things, Air, and breaking into our top 25, my 25th favorite movie released in 2023 is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a great slasher. I just put it on this morning just to have it on in the background while I was cleaning my place, which is kind of a weird film to do that for, because you'd want to see the kills, you'd want to hear that stuff, but the dialogue was fun and enjoyable enough that I'm very excited to see where they go with A Thanksgiving 2. We got The Creator, which was a very gorgeous film, one of the best looking films of the year. Great sound design, great action, that bridge sequence was fantastic. We got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This film made me cry like 3 or 4 times in the theaters. It's not necessarily a film I'm going to rewatch all that often, so I honestly might even be able to push it a little bit lower. Actually, no, I think it kind of works. I do think I will watch Thanksgiving more than Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Same with something like Poor Things. But I think as far as what I got out of that first viewing, it just hit me a little bit harder. After that, we got Theater Camp, a comedy that I did not expect to connect with as much as I did. If you are a theater kid, just go watch it. Don't watch the trailer, because it's made for you. It's called Theater Camp. I was in theater for little bits here and there. I've done some small stage plays or musicals, but I was never like huge into it. I've always been more into screen acting, but this is still something that I was laughing my ass off the entire time. Next up, we got John Wick 4, the final John Wick film, which I really enjoyed. Absolutely badass. My only complaint was just a little bit too long. And breaking into our top 20, the 20th best film, or my 20th most favorite film of the year, is Martin Scorsese's newest film, The Killers of the Flower Moon, which is dark, tragic, horrible, but the performances are fantastic. Lily Gladstone, Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, but Jesse Plemons also is a standout. It's a film that I want to rewatch, but I don't want to rewatch it unless I'm really in a good mental headspace. It's just one of those films that you don't want to watch that when you're already having a bad day. You want to watch that on like a Saturday or Sunday morning when you have nothing to do, and then watch something immediately, like super happy right after. Wake up and watch this at like 6 a.m. so you still have the entire rest of the day to cheer yourself up, because this is a dark film. And next up, another dark film that the reason why these films are a bit lower on this list, I did have Killers of the Flower Moon up kind of towards the top 10, but because of its rewatchability, because of how heavy it is, I did have to pull it down a little bit. So moving on, number 19, we got The Zone of Interest, another very dark film about a family growing up directly outside of a camp during World War II. Very disturbing film. There's no violence shown. It's just all audio. It's a moving film. There's one sequence, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one sequence where it brought me emotionally back into walking through the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., like very specifically. Like once this shot happens, and if you've seen the movie you probably know, but once this shot happens, I was like, had to take a deep breath, recollect myself. But damn, this movie's amazing. I did actually, the reason why I put it above Killers of the Flower Moon, if you are curious, is because it is an hour and 45 minutes. I like short films. The fact that this is an hour 45 minutes but is still so emotionally heavy, and just the performances are amazing. It says a lot about good filmmaking. I do think Killers of the Flower Moon needed to be a bit longer. I don't think it necessarily needed to be as long as it was, but Jonathan Glazer, director of Under the Skin, one of my favorite movies from 2013, he kills it here. I will definitely I think I will definitely purchase Zone of Interest. In 18th, we've got The Ironclaw, starring Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, Harris Dickinson, and Holt McElhaney. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Probably not, but he was honestly one of the standouts. He was fantastic in Mindhunter, and I really, really enjoyed his performance here. This film really deserves some acknowledgement. It is kind of disappointing that it didn't get any sort of Oscar push, at least. If it's not going to get nominated, I do feel like it should have been at least pushed or recognized by the Academy. But The Ironclaw is a heartbreaking story I knew nothing about. I am not a fan of wrestling, and I still really, really enjoyed this film. I don't think it's a film I'm going to rewatch probably ever. I'm probably more likely to watch Killers of the Flower Moon or Zone of Interest over this film. But I think my viewing experience, that first viewing experience, hit me really, really hard. Just, again, as a brother, it's a weird film. Even if you're not the most connected with your siblings, or even if you are, I still think this is a film that's going to choke people up. And coming in 17th, we've got Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig, starring, of course, Margot Robbie as Barbie herself and Ryan Gosling as Ken. The cast is phenomenal. The score is amazing. All of the sound design, the set design, the costumes. This film is just fun through and through. Even if I don't fully connect with some of the messaging in the film, it's just a fun time. I've seen the film 3 times in 1 year, and that shows that they did something truly special with this film, because I am not the target audience for this. And I, again, have watched it 3 times in 1 year. So I don't have much else to say about Barbie other than it was a really fun time. I hope they don't do a sequel, but man, it was a really, really enjoyable experience. And just missing the top 15, we have American Fiction, starring Jeffrey Wright. I watched this just a few days ago, and this film really took me by surprise. I did not know really anything about it. I don't even think I knew the synopsis or watched a trailer or anything like that. I just knew Jeffrey Wright was in a new movie and I wanted to see it. So I was really, really thrown off by the entirety of the story. I didn't know that it was about a black author. I didn't know what he was trying to write. I didn't know anything. And that's kind of the best way to experience this film. I think the ending is phenomenal. I think the cast is phenomenal. Visually, it looks amazing. It feels almost like a documentary, but I'm actually kind of curious which camera and lenses that they used specifically on this film, because it just feels really, really raw and real, and it works very, very well with the story that they were telling. Breaking into our top 15, we've got Sisu. I saw this film in theaters. It was the first movie that I saw throughout the day, and then I went and saw Mario directly after, and then I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 at the same theater that same night. So that specific day was an amazing theater experience, going from killing Nazis to Super Mario Bros. To Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a very, very different movie theater experience than I've ever had before. But as far as Sisu actually goes, the action is phenomenal. It's just a dumb fun time watching Nazis get got. I said that in my short review of the film. How do you not like watching Nazis get blown up or stabbed a bunch or like tied to a bomb and ripped out of a plane? Like, it's over the top, it's dumb, but it works. And anytime there's going to be a film about Nazis getting got, I'm going to watch it. Next up in 14th, we've got Scream 6. Yes, this film is not perfect. The final 15 minutes piss a lot of people off, but I don't mind it. It's another Scream film. I think Scream 6 is better than Scream 3. Scream 3 has always been the bottom of the barrel for me personally, and I love the Scream franchise. But if there's any one film that I wouldn't ever watch again, it'd be Scream 3. I could throw on Scream 6 right now, not even really pay attention, just kind of enjoy the soundtrack, the characters talking, the dialogue. I enjoyed this film. I don't really have much else to say about it, but it's a fun time and a fun entry in the Scream franchise. And coming in 13th, we have another surprise film for me personally, which was Past Lives, starring Greta Lee. It's so heartbreaking. Like, super depressing story, but very, very well done. Again, just like American Fiction, I didn't know anything about this story. I just knew it was 2 people who were separated at a point, meet back up. And that's all I will really share, because it's a very, very enjoyable experience. Enjoyable in the sense of well-made, well-acted, well-crafted, but it is a depressing film. And coming in 12th, we've got Fool's Paradise, the directorial debut by Charlie Day. I don't think anybody else out there has this up this high on this list. A lot of people really didn't like it, but I love Charlie Day. I thought the entire film was just cute and fun. There's a bit where the song Wipeout plays for like maybe 10 to 15 seconds, and I was crying laughing. I want to purchase this film. I really look forward to whatever Charlie Day does next. And on top of that, this is one of Ray Liotta's last performances, so it's nice to see him as well. And moving on to number 11, we just got another surprise after surprise after surprise with The Holdovers, starring Paul Giamatti. Alexander Payne directed. I believe he wrote the film as well. The entire cast is phenomenal. The supporting characters, it's basically this main trio, the cook, the professor, and the student. And they all are just miraculous. The set design, the fact that it's a period piece, it really does feel like it takes place in the 70s. I love this film. It definitely is going to become a new Christmas classic. I don't know if I will personally watch it every year or every Christmas. It's probably something that I could see myself putting on once every 5 to 10 years and being like, really caught off guard by how good it is if I kind of push it out of my brain and forget about it for a little while. But I would even go as far as to say that this is the best Paul Giamatti performance that I personally have seen. I've not seen the film Sideways, which a lot of people recommend as well, but out of all the Paul Giamatti films that I've seen, it is my favorite performance other than Big Fat Liar. All right, and breaking into the top 10, my 10th favorite film of 2023 is Extraction 2, starring Chris Hemsworth. This film is just pure badassery through and through. I remember when this film was announced, I was like, okay, I'm ready for a sequel. I like Extraction 1. Sam Hargrave, he's an amazing stunt coordinator, amazing director of action. If you're going to direct action, get somebody like Sam Hargrave who knows how to shoot stunts, who knows what needs to go into stunts. It's amazing. Extraction 1 is probably more of a tight-knit story, better story. I do think they do a good enough job at continuing that story here. The action is what you're here for. There's a 21-minute sequence in a prison. Everybody knows about it at this point probably, but that, manufactured one shot is phenomenal. His arm gets set on fire. He's beating people with riot shields. He's stabbing people in legs. It's insane. And I would totally watch an Extraction 3. I don't think that'll happen, but this is one film that it brought me back to being a child and watching something like Predator or Commando for the first time or Die Hard for the first time. It just really felt like a modern day 80s action classic. Moving into 9th place, we've got Jules starring Ben Kingsley. This is another film that I don't think many people, if any, are going to have on their list, at least this high on their list. I loved it. It was a very adorable film through and through. It's cute, it's fun. It's about an old man meeting an alien and their friendship growing from there. It's quirky, it's weird, and it's cute. There's nothing too crazy. It's not trying to reinvent any new wheel or tell a crazy new story. It's just fun, simple. Older guy meets an alien, hijinks ensue. He's got a friend that comes over and meets the alien, and yeah, if that sounds at all interesting to you, it would be a movie to put on when you're having a bad day and you just kind of don't really want to focus, but you're aware enough that you can pay attention to jokes and things like that. So it's a comfort film. That's what it is at the end of the day, and I will definitely purchase Jules. All right, and coming in 8th, we've got Wes Anderson's newest film from this year, which was Asteroid City. A lot of people seemingly didn't care for this. I don't know why. The first viewing experience, I will say, I saw it in theaters and didn't love it. I liked it a lot. I love the production, set design, costumes, the score, the "Hello, Spaceman, how do you do? Hop on one, hop on two." It's probably wrong, but that song was stuck in my head forever. I downloaded the entire soundtrack. I do really enjoy the soundtrack. That being said, I think it actually is top 5 of the scores for this year. Maybe for sure top 10, possibly top 5 favorite scores of 2023. I think the performances are phenomenal. The little caricature stop motion creature design, I don't want to spoil that. That was amazing and hilarious. I remember laughing my ass off in the theater seeing that for the first time, just because it was a very different visual approach, even for Wes Anderson. But I gotta say, I think Asteroid City was a film that was kind of like made for me, because I love aliens. I love the quirky Wes Anderson style. Obviously, the cast is insane. You've got Scarlett Johansson, Jason Schwartzman, Tom Hanks. Like, the list goes on and on and on. But it just gets more and more enjoyable each time I watch it. I've seen it twice now, and the second time that I watched it, I kind of fell in love with it. So out of all of Wes Anderson's films, I think it's in my top 5 somewhere, but I enjoyed it, and I, of course, am going to watch whatever Wes Anderson does next. And going from 8th, Asteroid City, into 7th, we're sticking with aliens. Coming in 7th is No One Will Save You, starring Caitlin Dever, directed by Brian Duffield. This film came out of nowhere. Again, a lot of these films in the top 15 really truly caught me off guard, and that's why they're up here so high on this list. This film is amazing. It's how I would want to do an alien film. I love that it catches you off guard with a thing that happens to an alien in the first act, and then it only gets more and more intense. And I think the fact that this film has no dialogue as well, and the entire time you're engaged, that really truly says something. And the performance by Caitlin Dever, she doesn't really speak the entire time, but it was a believable, compelling performance. The creature design was creepy and gross, and I loved it. I love No One Will Save You. It's an alien film that if I saw this when I was like 12, it probably would have scared the shit out of me, but I would have loved it. And it didn't scare the shit out of me. It creeped me out a lot. The little tippy-tappies downstairs, that was really creepy, but it's just fun. I love it, and I can't wait to rewatch No One Will Save You. All right, coming in 6th, this actually probably isn't going to be a surprise to many people. We've got Talk to Me, the directorial debut from the Philippou brothers from Australia. This film is amazing. It's about a hand that possesses you, and it's basically like a drug that teenagers do. They all gather around, they talk to this hand, and something possesses them. There's some crazy practical effects that happen about halfway through the film that are disgusting. There's one sequence with an eye. I almost had to look away. I looked at it fully just to appreciate how well done it was, but on that note, it's disgusting. I don't really have much to say about Talk to Me that other people haven't said. I enjoy the film. It's a good, solid horror film. I will watch Talk to Me too. Let's move on to the top 5 films of 2023. In 5th place, we have When Evil Lurks. If you guys haven't heard me already talk about this, I saw this film twice in theaters. Once kind of with a crowd, and then the second time, I believe I was completely by myself. Yeah, the second time I was completely by myself, which the second time amplified my experience way more. Being by myself, I was way more terrified. Also, expecting what I knew from the first viewing experience, it just made me way more antsy and eerie. I was itching for what was coming next. When Evil Lurks is the scariest film I've seen in the 2020s, period. It is terrifying. If you've got kids, this might not be a film to watch for you, because there's a lot of death around kids. It's unfortunate, but it's such a well-made film. The kills here are disgusting. The lore that they build around this type of possession is very, very interesting. Something that I personally haven't seen done before. I think as far as possession goes, When Evil Lurks and Talk to Me really did a good job at reinventing what possession could be. And I think When Evil Lurks, for me personally, obviously it's a step above Talk to Me, just because I feel like it's a bit more unique, and also it's just so raw. It feels so real for something that you absolutely know. Like these things that you're seeing would not happen, but somehow it just feels so tangible. All right, moving on to our top 4, we've got Oppenheimer, the newest Christopher Nolan film. I don't have anything else to say that hasn't already been said by everybody ever about Christopher Nolan. He's a fantastic director. This film specifically, gorgeous. Hoyt van Hoytema, who shot the film Nope from Jordan Peele in 2022, that film looks phenomenal. This film looks even better. Going from black and white to color is a very, very cool usage of time. I think the explosions look phenomenal, even though yeah, they're not totally accurate to what that would look like. I just think visually sitting in a theater, an IMAX theater specifically, playing it on 70 millimeter, it was one of the most breathtaking moments I've ever had in a cinema. I was actually, the theater, someone took my seat and I just didn't want to bother. I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll go find a different seat. And then someone came to that seat, so then I moved. And I moved to a handicap portion seat in like the direct middle of the theater because it was empty, no one was using it. And that was the best seat in the house. It was amazing. I had nobody on either side of me, and I was dead center of the theater looking directly at the screen. The score, when that Ludwig Göransson score comes in, I hate to say moved me because I don't want to sound, super fancy. But damn, dude, this film got me. It's so good. I love it. It's scary. Scary as shit. The ending is... like... Again, I'm very happy talking about the practical filmmaking about Oppenheimer, but the realness of it and the ending of that film is unfortunate and is terrifying. So, yeah, that's Oppenheimer in fourth. Let's move into the top 3 films of 2023. Coming in third, can you guys guess it? Coming in third place, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. This was my most anticipated animated film of 2023, and it lived up to all my expectations. I think they did a perfect job at telling the Ninja Turtle story or origin story in a new, fun way. I think the animation style is amazing. It feels different enough from, Spider-Verse. A lot of people were comparing it to that, but it's not that. It's something totally different. It feels like scribbles while also being really gorgeous at the same time. Yes, I do think there's some issues with, the villains that are so iconic that are now kind of heroes. Hopefully in the future, maybe they'll turn into the villains that we know and love. But as far as a first introduction to a new generation of Ninja Turtles, I thought it was fantastic. I've seen it twice now. The score's phenomenal. Ice Cube actually did a really good job. That was one of my worries is Ice Cube just going to be playing Ice Cube? And he does, but I think it works within this story. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of my favorite animated films I've ever seen. I actually think I do for sure like it more than Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. It's probably my favorite animated movie since Moana came out, and I think that was 2016. All right, we've got 2 films left. Can you guys put down in the comments which films you think are going to be my top 2 favorite films of 2023? Coming in second place, it was very close. It was actually in first place for the entirety of the year until the first place film came out. So that actually might be a little bit of a hint. The second place film came out very, very early on and stayed at number 1 all the way until, I believe, November. So that's a long ass time. Even Oppenheimer didn't beat out my number 1, which is now my current number 2. Sorry, I'm wasting your time. Let's get into it. Number 2, which was my number 1 for the longest time, is Beau is Afraid, the newest film from Ari Aster. Tons of people hate this film, and I get it. It's weird and bizarre and kooky, and that's not for everybody. Sometimes you just need something a bit more straightforward. And as far as the attic scene goes, I totally get why people might just think that's dumb. But for me personally, it was so on the nose that it everything about it worked. From the craziness at the beginning of the story to the craziness at the end of the story, every single beat that you go on, every single little journey that you're going through in this film, and there's a lot of different things, visually especially. This film just does a great job at subverting your expectations. Even if you're a good moviegoer and you're paying attention to the story that's being told, this film does a good job at subverting your expectations. The cast is insane. Joaquin Phoenix, of course, that's not a surprise. I think the score is actually, the score is number 2 as well for top scores of 2023. It was number 1 as well until it got dethroned by the first place film, which also is my favorite score of the year. But the Mariah Carey song cue is one of the most shocking, well-placed. I can't really go into too much detail without spoiling it, and it's a moment in the film that is unforgettable. I remember sitting in the theater, I was loving the song, I was like tapping my feet, enjoying the scene, and then something happens, and it just stomach sank. And it's so well crafted. I've loved Hereditary. I loved Midsommar. I now love Beau's Afraid. I will for sure watch anything that Ari Aster does moving forward. All right, this has been long enough, long overdue. My first place film, my favorite film of 2023, a film that really caught me off guard. I didn't watch the trailer before seeing it, and I'm so happy that I didn't. This is Godzilla Minus One. It's also my best performing movie review of 2023, so thank you to those who have gone and watched that movie review. If you want to know my full deep thoughts on Godzilla Minus One, go check out that movie review. I love it. It is my favorite Godzilla film ever released. It is the second Godzilla film that I've seen in theaters, I believe, because I saw Godzilla 2014. I saw Godzilla vs. Kong, but that was streaming, I believe. So yeah, I think this is the second Godzilla film I've ever seen in theaters. I saw it at an early fan screening event in downtown Atlanta with a full crowd, obviously diehard Godzilla fans. When that Godzilla theme hits, everybody was clapping. I even felt so compelled as to when the guy next to me got up to go to the bathroom. When he came back, I told him what he missed. I didn't know this dude. I didn't even introduce myself. I just said, hey man, you didn't really miss much. This and this happened. They talked about this, and now we're here. And I've never done that ever in my life. I've never been so compelled to tell a stranger what they missed in a movie theater. And I'm excited to see what they would do with a sequel. The blend of CG and physical puppetry is amazing. I love Godzilla Minus One. The cast is amazing. The story that they're telling is amazing because their characters actually matter. They're doing something with their characters that actually make us care. And it's also in a time period that, everybody knows about, World War II, the after effects of World War II. And I've just been babbling on for like another 5-6 minutes about Godzilla Minus One. If you want to know my full thoughts, just go watch my review, because I've seriously just been sitting here babbling to myself about how much I love Godzilla Minus One. But that is the ranking of all the films that I saw in 2023. Please let me know your favorite films of the year down in the comments below. Top 5, top 10, top 23, top 50, whatever. Just let me know your favorite films of the year down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking to the end of the video. My name's Carter Scotland Allen, and I will see you guys later. Peace.